Some stories, they're just more than stories, right? They're these little lessons that kind of stick with you forever. And today, we're going to get into one of the big ones, the timeless wisdom of the Little Prince. But we're not just going to talk about the book. We're going to look at the incredible story behind the story. So let's just dive right in. Okay, so our journey starts exactly where the book does, with a drawing. The narrator, when he was just 6 years old, he makes this picture. And he's super proud of it, right? So he shows it to all the grown-ups he knows, and he asks them a really simple question. He asks them, "Does this drawing scare you?" But all they saw was, well, a hat. So, take a look. What do you see? And that was their response. Frightened? Why would anyone be frightened by a hat? I mean, it's a perfectly logical, totally sensible, and completely unimaginative answer, isn't it? They just saw the surface, the literal shape of it, and they missed the whole point. Because, of course, it was never a hat. It was a picture of a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. And right there, from the very first page, the book just brilliantly lays out its central theme. That grown-ups, well, they often just fail to see what's truly important. They just can't see the elephant inside the snake. So, to really get a handle on the narrator, this pilot stranded in the desert, we've got to understand the author himself, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I mean, his own life was this grand adventure literally written across the sky. See, Saint-Exupéry wasn't just writing about a pilot, he was a pilot. He flew these incredibly dangerous airmail routes over the Sahara Desert. And yeah, that's the exact same landscape that becomes the setting for his most famous work. He actually wrote The Little Prince while he was in exile in the US during World War II. And his own life ended in mystery. He just disappeared on his final mission back in 1944. And get this. The start of the story, with the pilot crashing his plane right in the middle of the Sahara, that comes directly from Saint-Exupéry's own terrifying real-life experience. For him, life and fiction were just completely woven together. All right, so let's get back to the story itself. The Little Prince meets the pilot, and he starts telling him about his own journey. It's this tour of nearby asteroids, and each one is inhabited by these really peculiar grown-ups, and every single one of them is completely lost in their own bizarre logic. First up, he meets a king on this tiny little planet. This guy claims he rules over everything, the whole universe. But here's the catch. He can only command things that were gonna happen anyway. So when the prince asks for a sunset, what does the king do? He pulls out an almanac to order it for the correct time. So yeah, his power is basically just an illusion. So, on the next planet, this whole theme of grown-up absurdity just keeps on rolling. The prince meets a conceited man, and this guy's only desire in life is for people to admire him. And the truly absurd part? He demands this admiration even though he is the only person on his entire planet. Can you believe it? He just lives for empty praise. And the Little Prince finds this whole thing completely baffling. And then you've got the businessman. This is a guy who's so busy with his matters of consequence that he won't even look up from his desk. And what are these super important matters? Counting the stars, over and over. He claims he owns them just because he was the first person to think of it. He thinks owning something is just writing a number on a piece of paper. But the prince just cuts right through it, He points out that the man is of no use to the stars, which means his ownership is totally meaningless. So after leaving all those strange grown-ups behind, the prince finally makes it to Earth. And it's right here. This is where he learns his most important lesson of all. And what happens is he has this heartbreaking discovery. His beloved rose, the one he thought was totally unique in the entire universe, is actually just one of thousands in a garden. And just like that, he feels like his special flower is nothing more than a common rose. His whole world just kind of shatters in that moment. And it's at this really low point that he meets a fox. And this fox is about to teach him a secret that will completely change how he sees everything, the world, and especially his rose. The fox asks the prince to tame him. But what does that even mean? It's not about power or control, not at all. The fox explains it beautifully. To tame something just means to establish ties. It's about creating a special, unique bond that makes you different from everyone else in the world to each other. So how do you do it? The fox says it's all about patience and ritual. The steps are so simple, but so beautiful.
It's not about big, grand gestures. It's about the quiet, consistent effort of just showing up, day after day. It's about creating a special time and a special place that belongs only to the two of you.
And through this whole process, the prince finally understands what makes his rose so special. It wasn't that she was the only one. And as he's about to leave, the fox shares his greatest secret with him. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. I mean, that's the core of everything, isn't it? It's what all those grown-ups, with their numbers and their logic and their hats, could never, ever understand. Real sight, it doesn't come from your eyes. What is essential is invisible to the eye. And there it is. The most important things in life, love, friendship, connection, you can't see them. You can't count them. All that time the prince spent with his rose, watering her, protecting her, listening to her, that is what made her unique. That's what made her important. It was never about what she looked like.
And this brings us right back to the beginning, full circle. Remember the pilot? At the start, the prince kept asking him to draw a sheep. The pilot tries a few times, gets frustrated, and just draws a box. He says, "The sheep you want is inside." And the little prince was overjoyed because he could see it. And now, finally, the pilot gets it. He has also learned to see what's essential.
So the pilot finally manages to fix his plane. And at the same time, the little prince knows it's time for him to go home too. Their farewell is so bittersweet. It's an ending for sure, but it also feels like a new beginning.
And this is where we see that final haunting parallel. The prince explains that his body is too heavy to take with him on the journey back to his star, so he has to leave it behind. And then, just a year after he wrote this, Saint-Exupéry himself vanished in his plane. All he left behind was his story. It's like both the creator and his creation returned to the stars, leaving us with this incredible legacy of laughter and wonder.
The book leaves us with this final challenge. It's the pilot reminding us and himself that no grown-up will ever understand how important all of this is. That looking up at the stars and hearing laughter, remembering a friend, seeing with your heart, these aren't small things. They're everything. They are matters of so much importance. So the real question the book leaves us with is, have we forgotten how to see?